Alright, come on, come on, come on. Alright, come on. Alright. Alright, Duster was clean. Duster was clean. Okay, 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 okay. Diva, 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 Diva. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. The gold split. Okay, okay, okay. Get gigantic. Come on, come on. Alright, gigantic. Gotta get the skip, gotta get the skip. Come on. Come on. That blue. Oh, I'm slow on the blue. Oh, that's gonna cost me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Alright. Just get the jet out there. We can still do this. We can still do this. We saved a lot of time. Alright. Oh, look at that split. Come on. Alright, alright, alright. Soul Sweeper. Right. Sweep him up. Okay, okay. Come on. Come on. Board clear. Alright, battle phase. Come on. Alright, alright. Can I burst? Alright, we just need a swing. Swing, swing, swing. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes! Let's see it. 5149. Let's go. Hey gang, Mad Bad again. I picked up a new speed run, as you just saw. It's definitely not the most popular run out there, but I've got to say that I've been enjoying it. I think if I keep working at it, that sub 50 is just a couple of weeks of practice away. So yeah, today we're running what I'm calling Spright, any percent glitchless, which as you can see is a mostly standard Spright deck. You know, we got blues, we got the jet, we got red, we got carrot. But instead of like, say, a normal hand trap staple lineup, we're tech to the gills with BS board wipes, blowout normal spells, and of course a kaiju package, turning our design and just general game plan into a blind second OTK deck. If you've watched the channel for a while, or I don't know, spent 10 minutes on Master Duel in the last 8 months or so, I assume you're pretty familiar with Spright, the incredibly consistent, somewhat mid-rangey, somewhat controlled deck, revolving around generating incredible amounts of advantage, putting multiple bodies on board, and being able to continue to set up generic negates, as well as powerful end board pieces. We'll somewhat be taking advantage of all that, but the real thing we're interested in is how easily and consistently this deck can put lethal damage on board, thanks to Sprite's swarming tools and their game-ending quick play spell, Spright Gamma Burst. So why run the deck as a going second deck? There are a couple reasons. I think number one is the meta call. I really like main decking kaijus in this format, especially to deal with Purrely and Kash. Also, those decks are particularly susceptible where their board gets cleared to then getting run over by a quick one-turn lethal, and Spright is in a particular position to excel at doing that. The one somewhat bad part about running kaijus is seeing them in our opening hand going first, so if we build the deck to be a dedicated going second deck, then we won't really ever have to feel bad about seeing kaijus on our hand. In fact, we actually will want that. Other reasons I like running this as a going second deck, Spright has received many hits since they've been introduced to Master Duel. We still have powerful pieces available to the deck like Gigantic and Elf, but with Blue at 2 and especially Jet at 1, the grindiness that Spright had before has been severely reduced. So cutting the duration of the game down to 1 turn seems more ideal for the deck. Then there are some other nice reasons as well. The last nice part about being a blind second deck is we can usually assume we'll be going second each game, as we can either force our opponent to go first if we win the coin toss, or we can assume our opponent wants to go first if they win the coin toss. And honestly, that is a fantastic advantage to us. To sum up with like just the general goal of this deck and build is after our opponent's turn, we'll use our board wipes and kaijus in order to pick apart whatever board our opponent puts up. Then we'll do the classic Spright shenanigans, blue, jet, gigantic, elf, etc, etc. But instead of searching out Spright starter as part of our line for additional extension, we'll be searching for Gamma Burst to end the game then and there. If you're not familiar with Gamma Burst, it's a quick play spell that increases the attack and defense of all level, rank, and link 2 monsters by 1,400 until the end of the turn. And as it's a Spright spell card, it is searchable by the one and only, and unfortunately now only allowed to be run at 1 copy Spright Jet. And even though he's at 1, Spright Jet is easily searchable thanks to Spright Blue, and even though Spright Blue is at 2 copies, Spright Blue is easily searchable thanks to Gigantic Spright. So let's do some math real quick. 1,600 from Gigantic, 1,100 from Blue, 1,300 from Jet, that's 4,000 damage, and well, if we boost them all with Gamma Burst, 3 bodies gaining 1,400 attacks, 4,200 extra damage, and if my math is correct, which you know, I would never trust me to get that correct, but looks like we have lethal damage, and the only thing we need to set that up is 2 level bodies on board in order to get out our Gigantic Spright. And I mean, that's the OTK and the most dumbed down, in a vacuum, never going to happen in a real world sort of illustration. I should go over how this deck actually functions, so let's start at the beginning. We want to first go through the Spright line in order to swarm the board. If we don't open blue in our hand, we want to find them, and the easiest way to do that is via Gigantic, and Gigantic just requires 2 generic level 2 monsters to summon. Apart from the Sprites, we've got a couple cards that assist with that. First up, Deep Sea Diva. Since they absolutely obliterated the Nimble package, Nimble Beaver is no longer the best normal summon for the deck. I mean, he would be if you happen to sack into your one of Beaver, but you know, instead we've replaced Beaver with a Deep Sea Diva. Diva is a level 2 tuner that on normal summon allows you to special summon a level 3 or lower sea serpent monster from your deck. Well, Diva happens to be a level 3 or lower sea serpent monster, so on normal summon, Diva can summon one of the other Divas and then go into Gigantic. We're not really interested in the other cool aspects of Diva, like the fact that she's a tuner. She's just one body that becomes 2, gives us a beneficial normal summon in the deck, and baits out or eats up interaction from our opponent, like an Ash, Imperm, or other negate they might have on board, as we're assuming we're playing into some sort of board that our opponent has as we're going second deck. Besides Diva, next up for our other level 2 engine is a small crawler package, particularly Crawler Soma. If you're not familiar with Crawler Soma, well, shame on you. Go watch my other videos. You'll know how much I love this guy. But no, seriously, this card is actually crazy. He can target any monster on your side of the board, flip it face down, and then special summon himself. From there, he can reduce his level by 2 or 4, and then special summon other crawlers from your hand, deck, or graveyard, whose total levels equal the amount reduced. We're pretty much always going to pick 4, as the low-level crawlers we'll be summoning with are Spine and Axon. Don't worry about their effects. They're actually trash. One's Mandator Bug, the other pop spells and traps. The only thing we want from them are the fact that they're level 2 bodies that Soma can summon. So if you manage to get a monster on board, which is basically, you know, any monster on board, you can turn that one body into 3, and not only is it 3 bodies, it's 3 level 2 bodies, and one of those bodies has 2000 attack, and that's even before Gamma Burst boost. So basically, Soma works as a great play starter, but also extender. So say, for example, your Diva gets hit with an Imperm, but you've got Soma, flip that Diva face down, summon Soma, Spine, Axon, Gigantic Blue, Jet, and then with Soma and Gamma Burst, that's 11,600 points of damage. Good game. The biggest downside to running Soma is having to run 2 Garnets between Spine and Axon. I mean, obviously that's not great. It's also not the worst thing in the world, since Soma can summon from hand, and in a pinch, if you have, say, any Spright in hand, you can just normal summon Spine or Axon, special the Spright, and that's full combo, baby. However, basically anytime you see either of them in your opening hand, I'm sure you'd rather them be almost any other card in the game. But when someone gets to resolve with that many bodies on the board afterwards, you have so many avenues open to you to winning the game that I think it's really nice running him. For Spright cards, I did not go over. Spright starter, special summon a Spright from your deck. You can use it as a starter or summon blue, trigger blue, go off king. Or if you just happen to draw it, it's a great play extender with an extra level 2 body on board. It can also be a negate if you go into like red or carrot, if that matters for the current board state. Just another great card that puts extra bodies on board and helps the deck push through interactions from our opponent. The card is searchable by Jet, and although in most Spright decks you'd be searching Spright starter 99% of the time, that's really not the case here, as most of the time we want to search Gamma Burst, so we are able to end the game. But sometimes you won't be able to put together lethal, so starter is going to be the better search target for you. But also starter is just a card we're just happy to see on our opening hand. It's just either a play starter or extender for us for our combos. For Spright monsters, red and carrot, they shouldn't need much introduction. Red negates monster effects, carrot negates spells and traps. Additionally, they work as extenders for us being able to special summon themselves to the board for free if you control a level 2 monster, which yeah, that's great for our game plan of getting level 2 bodies on board and swinging for a game with Gamma Burst. We're also on one of Spright Pixies, which has seen very sparse play. Pixies has an effect that's like Honest or Blackwing Colute, but he's for Spright monsters. The attack gain effect I could theoretically see coming up for this deck, in particular as we're a battle phase focus OTK deck, and even though the attack boost didn't come up, it's nice to have an additional Spright in the deck. Blue can search for later, and at the worst, Pixies can summon himself for free when you have a level 2 monster on board, so at the end of the day, he's a decent extender. You could probably cut him or replace him with a second copy of Red or Carrot, just that's going to be your choice. Last for main deck, we're on the one of Spright Smashers. Honestly, for this list, you could probably cut it as it isn't generally needed to push for lethal, but Smashers is just such a useful, searchable, versatile piece of removal that non-target banishes a card on board. It's won me too many games in the past and came in clutch for me in a couple duels with this deck, so I really can't justify cutting it. For the extra deck, besides the 2 gigantic Sprights, we're on 2 Elf. Elf shouldn't need an introduction. Absolutely insane card. Quick play revive every turn. Not only nets you advantage, but triggers blue and jet, or just revives red and carrot for negations. Then also for some reason provides non-targeting protection. Sure, why not? There's a reason Elf is banned in OCG and TCG. Another bonus with Elf is Gigantic Sprite's other effect, where you can XYZ summon him by using a Link monster as an XYZ material, and if you do, Gigantic Sprite's attack becomes 3,200, and Elf is great for setting that up. So another great way to get more damage on board. Now to go over the blind second aspects of this deck, the going second blowouts. As you can see, we're on a bunch of one-ofs. Regeki, Feather Duster, Change of Heart, Lightning Storm, Triple Tack. You know, spell cards that when they resolve have effects that say win the game. Why run them all at one? Well, you probably know the answer to that. You do have eyes. It's because we're on the 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. So we can search out the blowout spell that best helps us deal with the board state and or puts us in a position to find lethal thanks to the insane searching abilities of Triple Tactics Thrust. We're also on 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, which is searchable by Thrust, but I've opted to run 2 copies because we're on a decently sized Kaiju package of 4. We're in a weird meta where Kaijus are pretty fantastic against 2 of the top top decks between Purrely and Kash, and I know Kash has kind of fallen off in popularity, but I still think it's pretty prevalent on ladder. And Kash generally hates monster board wipe, so a dark hold that puts a 3,300 attack monster on our side of the board. I'm all for it. Slumber isn't the best against Purrely not being able to deal with Noir, but since we're on 4 kaijus and it's so good versus Kash, I figured why not. And it's not the worst. If you somehow your opponent doesn't suck up Slumber from the grave with Plump, you can then use it to search out a kaiju on the follow-up turn after you've used it. That could actually help deal with Noir, but I'm getting sidetracked. Honestly, we don't have the best matchup versus Purrely, but sometimes you're going to lose to the best deck. We just try and tech for it as best we can, and we also have access to Herald as well in order to deal with Tower's monsters. Next up, hand traps, which isn't too many. This deck is mostly interested at finding, using, and resolving blowouts. This deck isn't too interested in trading 1-for-1 card-wise with our opponent with cards like Ash Blossom or Imperm. That's why we're on the 3 of Maxi and a 2 of Nibiru. We resolve Maxi, we're either going to end our opponent's turn, or our opponent is going to give us so many cards we'll blast any board they set up into the next century. As a small bonus, Maxi is a level 2 monster, and if you're a Spright player and you've never normal summoned Maxi to get your plays rolling, you're a big fat liar. Likewise, we resolve Nibiru. We clear their board, end their turn, wreck them on the crackback. Regarding Ash Blossom and Call by the Grave that both don't make an appearance in this deck, generally they're both run as ways to deal with our opponent's Max C, and honestly, we don't really care if our opponent resolves Max C. Our goal is to end the game in 1 turn. The only thing we need to worry about are them drawing other cards they can use that turn if they do activate Max C. So basically, we're worried about our opponent drawing into more hand traps. And the only one that causes like a real major concern for us is if they somehow find a Nibiru board wiping us as we're trying to go wide with a board to put up lethal damage. And thanks to Gigantic Spright, we don't have to worry about Nib, so for the most part, we'll happily take the Max C challenge pretty much any opportunity we get, especially if we have an easy track to lethal. Last, we're on 2 Fenrir. 2,400 attack, summon himself for free, replace himself in hand, and baits interaction. And last, he can banish a card on our opponent's side of the board. And if that banish is when he's attacking that causes a replay, so that could be 2,400 attack, go and face afterwards, there's a reason he's in everyone's deck, and what's not to love about this guy. For the extra deck we didn't go over, we're on a bunch of Link 2 and Rank 2 monsters that can all get boosted by Gamma Burst, but also have additional utility for us. Skycav, there are instances where your opponent commits a lot of cards to the board, and we can't clear it for whatever reason, and Zeus becomes our game plan to summon Skycav. So just attack whatever, spin the attack target in the deck if you need to, then go into Downard, then go into Zeus, and then wipe it up from there. We're on Cat Shark. He's able to double Gigantic Spright to a potential 6,400 attack if that's needed. And then one of the absolute MVPs of the deck, Soul Sweeper. He's able to banish any monster on the opponent's side of the board until their next end phase. And of course, we don't plan to give our opponent another end phase, so he's great for cleaning the board for lethal pushes. After that, Nightmare Phoenix, great for dealing with back row when that's needed. And then Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. We don't really care about his effect. It's just the fact that he's got 2,300 attack and he's a Link 2. If you need a big body, especially one when it's going to get a humongous boost from Gamma Burst, Codebreaker's your man. And then for instances where we can't OTK and need to play a real game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or our opponent made us go first for some reason, we've got cards to board build with. We've got IP Mask, and then we can use IP Mask to go into either Unicorn to spin a card on our opponent's side of the board, Avermax to put up our own Towers monster, or Underworld Goddess, who also has utility clearing Towers monsters, but as like sort of a janky interrupt against our opponent with IP Mask. That pretty much covers the card by card. I don't really have a combo guide for this one, nor do I really think one is needed. I assume you're pretty familiar with Spright lines. They're not particularly complicated or involved. If you're not familiar with Spright, I think if you watch the duels, you'll get an idea on how the deck plays and how to approach it. And that isn't to say there isn't nuance to Spright or any nuance to this deck. As a going second deck, one of the most important things you'll need to figure out is the nuance in order to pick apart our opponent's boards, use up or chew through interruptions, and then of course find lethal. But with some minor practice, dear viewer, I think you are up for the challenge, so I won't waste your time with the combo portion. If you do have questions though, feel free to post them below. I'm always happy to help. But up next we have some duels just to showcase the deck in action, and then I'll have some final thoughts to go over, but with that, let's see what the deck can do. So I mean, most of my replays were some variation of I played my board clear, I summoned my sprites, and I swung for game. So I wanted to show some actual interesting duels for this video, but keep in mind most of my winning duels with the deck were duels like these replays here. Alright, first duel up, and looks like I lost the coin flip, unfortunate for us. Well, at least it would be if that isn't exactly what we wanted. We go ahead and open with that Max C. Our opponent's got the Ash Blossom. Looks like he's going to get to play. He's going to start with my friend Purrely, and he's going to add 1 to hand. And then from there, he's going to go into White Kitty. White Kitty is going to be a good kitty. He's going to get that Happy Memory added to hand. There, he's going to go into Plump. He's going to start pumping them up. Get a bunch of material on them. Get another White Kitty on the board. Finds a Delicious Memory off the top. Can overlay them to Awesome Blue Robin for more interruption on his side of the board. And from there, he's going to get a bunch of materials on his Plump. And then go to Noir. and set one and pass it back to me. So pretty impressive board I would have to deal with. I mean, that's what I would see if I didn't just, like, you know, have this kaiju I was about to drop on him. So he is going to get to add 1,000,000 cards back to hand. But I'm pretty sure we can clean it up from this position. And you know what? I like that one kaiju so much. Why don't we put 2 more kaijus on the board? So a very cool board for my opponent. Lots of interaction that I had to deal with. From there we go Diva, Diva, Jet, Starter, Starter get Carrot. You know, we would have searched out Gamma Burst, but unbeknownst to my opponent, I've already got that Gamma Burst in hand. So from there we're going to get Blue, Blue, grab Red, just in case we need to, like, negate something that I'm not aware of. This actually isn't lethal on my side of the board. I mean, it wouldn't be if I didn't have exactly Gamma Burst in my hand, so I had literally everything to deal with my opponent. He scoops it up from there. He's obviously a little mad, but I don't blame him. I had literally everything. Good game. Alright, another duel, and we lost the coin flip again, but that is a-okay with me. So let's see what my opponent's on. He starts off with normal summon diameter, goes into Lingaribo, and that's because he has the parallel exceed in hand. Looks like that was just how he's getting his play started. From there he's going to go into Alan Bershin. Alan Bershin is going to be searching out Circular. From there he's going to special summon Circular, send Sigma to grave, activate Alan Bershin, bring back Diameter, that's going to trigger Circular, add Super Factorial to hand. He's going to link these both off for Splash Mage, activate Splash Mage's effect, link those 2 off for Transcode Talker, bring back Splash Mage, and with the Microcoder in hand he's going to go into Heat Soul. That's going to trigger Microcoder, which will allow him to search out the counter trap and trigger Heat Soul's draw as well at the same time. So we got Signet Conflict. I know he's got the Super Factorial. A Duster off the top would be huge. Looks like we don't find it, and he activates Heat Soul in the draw step, so I don't get to, that doesn't turn on my triple attack. And then I throw down the Gamma Seal on the Heat Soul because I wasn't thinking. I forgot Transcode Talker is also a Code Talker, so I thought I would turn off Signet Conflict, not really. And then at my summon on Fenrir, he's going to go ahead and trigger his Super Factorial, and it's going to hit probably the worst target in my hand. From there, I'm going to activate Triple Attack, and then I don't have enough to shoot through my opponent's board, and that just kind of happens. You don't draw the correct board breakers, and you can't crack the opponent's board, but well played from my opponent. Good game. Alright, next duel up, and it looks like I can't win a coin flip to save my life. Are those jokes old yet? Anyway, looks like we're up against Swordsoul. You know he's got Moyi, and he's going to go into Chi-Chao. He's going to search out Longwan, activate Longwan, pitch that Emergence, and from there he's going to go into Barone, and with 4 cards in hand, he's going to pass back to me, so kind of weird. I wonder who those 4 cards in his hand could be that they're dead. I'm assuming that there's at least 1 hand trap. Looks like I'm right. There's an Ash Blossom. We'll go ahead and hold off on that red. We're going to special summon that Carrot, go Jet, activate Jet. He's going to trigger Chi-Chao, and we're going to trigger red by tributing that Jet. And then he's going to tribute Barone, which is going to negate my red, but because Jet's no longer on the board, Jet will resolve. And then that's going to turn on Thrust, which will go ahead and search out Talents. We'll use Talents, steal that Barone, pop the Chi-Chao, link into Elf. Not that we're really going to get much use out of Elf, we're just trying to turn 2 bodies into a 3,200 attack gigantic Spright. We'll get that last Pixies from deck, and we'll go into Battle Phase, use that Gamma Burst that we searched from deck, and thanks to that Barone that we stole on board, that's going to give us lethal damage on board, and GG. Alright, let's see what we got up next. Yeah, it looks like it is the mirror match. He's going to open with that gigantic Spright, get Blue, Blue, get Jet, Jet, get Starter, same old, get Elf, revive that Carrot, link those 2 off for IP Mask, use Starter, get Red, and he's going to pass it back my way. We're going to start off with the Kaiju on top of the Elf, so he can't revive something like a Negate, or get a search off bringing back Blue or Jet. Then we'll go into Soma. We'll use Red to tribute our face-down monster because he can't tribute face-down cards to negate IP Mask. When we try to tribute Soma, he is going to activate his Red to unfortunately get rid of Soma. We've got follow-up with Starter into Blue, into Jet. Jet, get that Smashers. Then we will link those 2 off for Elf, activate Elf. We'll try to bring back this Crawler that is going to eat a Called by the Grave. Unfortunate for us, we can't follow up from there, but from there we can go to Gigantic Spright with 3,200 attack. We'll go ahead and get our Carrot. Unfortunately for us, we can't beat over the Kaiju, but we can at least clear his Carrot off the board. We'll set the Smashers and we'll pass it back to my opponent. I just get to find something off the top. His hand's looking pretty low at 1 card. So just going to go straight into Battle Phase. Unfortunately, we have to use the Smashers here because I want to try to save this Gigantic Spright. And we'll go ahead and get that Kaiju out of here, but it looks like he found Regeki, so that's going to go ahead and clear my board. We got an empty board, we really need to find something off the top. Max C is nothing, but it looks like my opponent's on low cards, so I'm not super worried about it, so we'll just go ahead and pass it back to him. I'm feeling pretty hopeful with Max C and Nib in hand. He's going to set 1 monster, pass it back to us. Anything off the top, there's a million playable cards. Blue is basically perfect, so we'll go ahead and normal summon Max C as a level 2. That allows a special summon Blue. Blue will search out the last remaining Spright in our deck, Pixies, then we'll go into Gigantic. He's going to trigger his Called by the Grave, second one of the day. Then we'll just link them both off for Elf, and we'll use Elf to bring back Jet. and Jet will search out Gamma Burst. And from here we'll go into battle phase, hope we can destroy that face down monster, and it looks like we can't, that low defense. At the end of the battle phase, he'll evenly match us, we at least get to keep our elf, and it's going to be really hard for him to even come back into this game when I still have access to elf and he's on one card. It looks like he found nothing off the top, he scoops it up from there. So even when we aren't able to OTK, this deck can still definitely play the game. So good game to my opponent. Next duel's up. And you know, if you have 3 copies of Maxi in a 40 card deck, you got 33% chance to open them. And so 33% of my games are going to have Maxi. So we'll go ahead and start off with Maxi. It looks like we're up against Kash. He is going to play into the Maxi a little bit. He's going to get Rise Hard. He's going to get Fenrir on the board. But from there, he's going to pass it up with 2 back row. Let's see what we can do from there. Lightning Storm off the top's great. Let's go ahead and clear his back row, get that out of here. Roll Normal Summon Diva, activate Diva. He's going to trigger his Fenrir. That's fine with me because that's going to put Thrust online. With Thrust, we'll search out Regeki. We'll Regeki after clearing his back row. And from there, we've got the blue follow-up blue Jet. It should be exceptionally easy cleanup here. Just to try to play around Nibiru. We'll go Gigantic here, Gigantic get Carrot, Special Summon Jet, Jet search out Starter. We'll go Battle Phase, we're ready to Gamma Burst in hand. From here, easily asleep, hope my life. Just, you know, board clear to clear the back row, board clear to clear the monster board, and then combo off from there. It doesn't get cleaner than that. Good game. Alright, Matt, you've showed us Kash, you showed us Purrely, you showed us Swordsoul. Surely you've got something a little jankier. You know I've got that Dark Magician duel for you all. Here it is. There's Dark Magician, 1 back row passed. Absolutely insane. And then we find Crawler off the top. We'll go and start with that Lightning Storm, clears back row. Was that Mask of Restrict? From there we go Slumber, and then we will go ahead and Soma our Slumber monster. And then we'll go ahead and get Spine Axon, go into Elf. Elf, bring back Maxi. You know, we got to style on him a little bit. Overlay into a 3,200 attack Gigantic. Blue, get Jet, grab that Gamma Burst. From here, let's go into that battle phase. Let's pump him up. That is a lot of damage. Swing in, lethal there. Sorry, Mr. Dark Magician Man. Good game, though. Alright, last duel I have for you, and it looks like my opponent made me go first, and is that Spine and Axon on my opening hand? You know we love those 1.28% chance opening hands, and so this Diva's going to have to do a lot. Unfortunately, our opponent's going to throw out that Maxi. I'm not going to play into it, especially with Nibiru in hand, so we'll just have the Diva trigger, and then we'll pass it back to my opponent. And it looks like it's on Blue Eyes, so we go DM into a Blue Eyes duel. Yugi into Kaiba, very cool, and he is popping off with that Lord of D. He's got the alternative White Dragon on board. He's going to trigger it. He's going to pop that defense monster. That's going to trigger Jet Dragon, and you would think he has lethal on damage, but remember that alternative cannot attack, so that is going to put me down to 1,000 life points, which actually is a big deal because that's basically going to shut off Starter for us. And it was crazy he was able to do that in 4 summons, so we couldn't even get to use our Nibiru there either. We'll trigger Slumber. Unfortunately, I forgot that Jet Dragon does have tech, so at least clear Jet Dragon off there. But from here, we're just going to go into Gigantic get blue, Special Summon Jet. Jet will grab Smashers because I figure we might need to remove something off the board. From here, we're going to trigger Elf. Elf bring back Red to go into IP Mask. And we'll have to go into battle phase because my Kaiju does have to attack. My opponent gets to pick the attack target, and here it's going to clear his Blue Eyes, and then we'll pass back to my opponent with Elf and IP Mask and Smashers, and hopefully that's enough to deal with my opponent. He's going to try to pop Elf. We'll go ahead and trigger Elf, and we'll also trigger IP Mask to go into Avermax because I'm pretty sure Blue Eyes are not going to have a way to deal with him, and we'll also revive that blue to search out Carrot because I know I'm going to need Monsters Follow-Up for next turn. He's going to go into that Ultimate Fusion, and there's the Tyrant Dragon. From there, he's going to go into Dragon Rebellion, so luckily I've been holding on to the Smashers the whole time because Heart Earth Dragon would actually be an enormous problem, so we would have lost the duel there on the spot. We'll get that out of here, and he can't really clear Avermax, so he'll pass it back to us with 1 back row. And let's see what I can do from this position. Starter is probably the worst draw because it's basically dead, but we can at least trigger this Kaiju Slumber and Grave. We'll go and search Gamma Seal. We'll go the Crawler, we'll go Carrot, we'll go into Elf. That's going to trigger an Imperm response, but at least we got that out of here, so unfortunately Elf doesn't get to trigger. And we'll go ahead and Gamma Seal Lord of D so I can't pick my attack targets because I need to make sure that he doesn't try to summon another Heart Earth Dragon from his extra deck in case he's running it. So I go ahead and pass it back to my opponent. He's got 2 level 8 monsters on board. He's going to trigger another Ultimate Fusion. From here we'll trigger Spright Elf. We'll go ahead and get IP Mask back onto the board. And there's Tyrant Dragon, and a second Tyrant Dragon. He's going to overlay them both for a second Dragon Rebellion. He's going to trigger it again. He does have the second Heart Earth Dragon. We'll go ahead and trigger IP Mask again. This time we'll go into Unicorn. Unicorn will finally discard that Nibiru, and that will get that Heart Earth Dragon back out of here, and passes it back to me because he can't really clear the Avermax again. Maxi off the top, not too useful. We'll go ahead and activate Elf. We finally get Frigate here. We'll have Jet search out that Gamma Burst. From here, we'll go to Battle Phase, put that Dragon Rebellion just so we can't try to end the game with Heart Earth Dragon again. That's going to trigger Jet Dragon, get Jet Dragon back on the board. We'll go ahead and set Gamma Burst, pass it back to my opponent. Sets one back row. We'll trigger Elf one more time. We'll bring back IP Mask, and then we'll even trigger IP Mask again. So yeah, we got to use IP Mask 3 times this duel to go into Underworld Goddess. So I definitely picked the incorrect target. I wasn't thinking, because now he's going to get to bring back his Jet Dragon and reset that Imperm. So he's going to get to spin my Underworld Goddess back to the grave. But that's okay. He's on 600 life points. Let's see what I can do. Draw off the top. Soma's not super useful. We'll go ahead and trigger Elf. That's going to eat an Imperm. Unfortunate for us. We'll go ahead and normal summon that Maxi in case he has something to negate this attack, and Mirror Force, and that's going to pop both of our monsters. Luckily, Avermax can't be destroyed, but that is going to allow him to bring back Jet Dragon, so my opponent is going to live to see another day. We'll go ahead and set that Gamma Burst back down. He wasn't able to spin back Avermax because Avermax, of course, can't be targeted. He's going to set one more back row. I swear that's another Mirror Force. Anyway, we draw for turn. We'll just go straight into Battle Phase. We'll swing away, and he scoops it up from there. Wild that the most exciting duel we had was first Blue Eyes, so very interesting duel and well played from my opponent. Good game. Alright, once again, we're on to final thoughts. I didn't include an other cards to consider section. There's some other spells you could run for your triple tactics thrust package. That'll probably be your preference if you want to run them, but I'm pretty happy with the ones we've selected here. If you don't want to craft Soma, and believe me, I get it, there are some other level 2 engines you could run, like the Nimbles, or even something like the Frogs, or like something as simple as Evil Hero Infernal Prodigy. Just play around and let me know if you find something you like better, because as much as I love Soma, if I never draw Spine or Axon in my opening hand again, I'll die the happiest man to ever walk this earth. Other than that, I should maybe change the kaijus I'm running up a bit. I like the different attack values on my kaiju, so if like I happen to open 2 in my opening hand, I can clear my opponent's kaiju without crashing, so at least I leave some sort of body on my side of the board. So I should probably change one Gamma Seal to Humongous. Then it also came up once where my 3,200 attack Gigantic Spright could not clear the 3,300 attack Thunder King I gave my opponent, so I should maybe switch him to Godarla or Radian so that they're below that 3,200 attack threshold. Most of the time that's not going to make a difference, so I wanted just to showcase the deck that I was playing in the duels for this showcase, but I'll probably make those changes after I put this video up. Regarding the deck itself, I love this deck, but it can be pretty much as brain dead as humanly possible. It's hard to call a lot of the wins I have with this deck as skillful, as plenty of them were just I had the sorry opponent. We won't get into the strengths just yet. We'll start with weaknesses of this deck. It's a going second deck. It has the same weakness as most going second decks. Sometimes your opponent will put up a board and you cannot deal with it. That's either because they put up more interaction that you can chew through, or you didn't find the particular answer that you need in order to clear their board. This also isn't helped by the fact that we're on very little interaction via hand traps. However, other than like exactly Dragon Link, there aren't too many balls to the wall put up a million negate combo decks on ladder right now, so we can sort of get away with the low hand trap lineup, but there will certainly be decks and there will certainly be games where someone just pops off and our deck building really come to bite us in the ass, where having an Ash Blossom or Imperms, other similar cards, would have stopped our opponent, and instead they're able to put up some just insane board, and all the King's Kaijus and all the King's Regekis aren't going to be able to put a win together again for us. Last weakness, we don't really have any one-card combos defining lethal. Yes, we have like one-card combos putting together competent boards, but in order to find lethal, we sometimes need to see some specific 2 cards together that make anything happen. And also, as we're on a lot of non-engine, this deck can easily brick when we don't find engine and instead find only like board wipes and kaijus, which of course may be great for dealing with our opponent's board, but not so great at advancing us to our win con. That kind of takes us into strengths. We're going second deck. Our deck is designed to go second, and thanks to the general incentive of wanting to go first in this game, and this game being a best of 1 format, the coin flip becomes largely irrelevant to us and borderline an advantage to us. Also, going second, we get to draw an extra card. That may not seem like a lot, but keep in mind it's an almost 6% increase that we see any card we run at a 3 of. Not to mention that that card is an extra resource our opponent is going to have to deal with, and that will be able to assist us with whatever we're trying to accomplish. For additional strengths, even with Blue at 2 and Jet at 1, thanks to Gigantic searching and the fact that Gigantic only requires generic material, we can still very consistently take advantage of the Spright engine. Even though Spright is clearly weaker after all the hits of the deck, it's still very consistent compared to a lot of engines. And then last, for our going second OTK deck, we're not do or die on OTK on our opponent. The deck can still function as a very competent deck if the OTK is not possible or we're forced to go first. The going second cards are going to break your hand up a bit, but Spright generally only needs 1 to 2 cards to full combo. Also, we still have ways to put together competent boards thanks to cards like Carrot and Red as powerful negation tools, and then of course we still have included plenty of powerful extra deck monsters like Elf, IP Mask, and Avermax. In terms of fun, the deck is maybe fun. I mean, I have some caveats to this deck's fun factor. First off, some games just non-games. A lot of times we're not really playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With our opponent, we're just kaiju in their towers or eruptions, Raigeki in their board, then throwing up our hand of monsters onto the board, just ending the game on the spot there. If you are a Spright enjoyer, you'll probably like this deck, and that's probably because when you get down to it, it's just a Spright deck. We're doing Spright things, we're making Spright plays, and I just so happened to tech in a bunch of going second cards, and of course the most important factor gave the deck a funny name. However, if you're looking to grind ladder or dailies quickly, this deck is definitely nice for that, as we can very easily end games in 2 turns, which is also especially nice when we're in a meta that you're not particularly enjoying and you just want to get your gems and get out, so maybe that alone is a reason to play this deck. The one unfortunate part in terms of speed of games is occasionally you have to sit through some long opening turns for our opponent, but that's why God made YouTube. In terms of price, this deck is extremely expensive. Spright requires multiple URs. The going second cards are almost entirely URs. And of course the extra deck itself, also almost entirely URs. However, plenty of the cards included in this deck are just plain and simple staples, and you'll get so much mileage out of them for pretty much any deck you're running. Like Fenrir's in basically any deck, you're going to be wanting Thrust and Tactics. And if you played this game for any length of time, you probably already have a lot of these pieces. And you definitely could make a budget version of this deck. Like, you could cut Soma for some other different level 2 engines, and the deck would probably still find you plenty of OTKs and lethals. You could run cheaper kaijus. There's plenty of just SR and just rare kaijus. I just happen to run Dogeron because I happen to have him, things like that. And then you could run like cheaper board wipes, like instead of the slumbers you could run like Dark Hole, and it'd probably be basically the same thing for you. I wouldn't say go out and craft this deck, but if you're sitting on like Spright and a majority of these staples, I don't think you'll be disappointed rolling up to ladder with something like this. Your opponent might hate you for rolling up to ladder with this, but that's business, baby. But I don't really have anything else to talk about with the deck. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I know it's been, oh god, 4 months from my last video. Life got a bit crazy for me there for a bit. Things are finally starting to calm down. I actually have footage for at least 4 other videos sitting on my hard drive. Some of it is months old and formats old, but I figure I might as well put something together with them. I just need to get my editor off his lazy butt. See, the joke there is I'm my editor and I put these videos together myself. But thank you for all the support the channel's gotten. It's been almost 100% positive support from you all, with just comments, likes, and subs. Can't believe we're up over 130 subs. Maybe I'll put together a 100 sub special on Twitch, so be on the lookout for that. I'll post something about that when I am actually able to put that together. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, I greatly appreciate any likes. If you want to see more videos from me, be sure to check out the channel and subscribe. Yeah, if you have any questions or just general comments, feel free to post them below. I'd be happy to discuss it with you all. But with that, I will see you next time, friends.